Right, so we've arrived at our next one, and it's a Discovery, a TD5 I believe the customer said. HBO4, so it's an 04 plate. Now the customer's kind of helped me out with this one, to be honest. I've arrived and he's already mentioned that as soon as you turn the ignition on, you haven't got the coil light for your glow plugs and you haven't got the engine management light active, so he thinks it's a communication fault. And I've just done a scan to try and pick up the engine side, and you can see there, access failed, please check is ignition on, which the ignition was on, so it's not picking up the ECU. So just by the customer letting us know that information, it's kind of, you know, helped us in a way. We're not getting any communication with the engine control module, so what I'm going to do is just go straight on the HGS, and fingers crossed we can get a wiring diagram up for this. Now, because it is an older car, we probably should be able to. If not, we might need to go into somewhere else and try and get a diagram up for the engine ECU at least, and we'll take things from there. But I'll show you what the customer's done already. So the customer's tried swapping a couple of relays about. That's made no difference. He's tried cleaning up the engine block, the earth for that. Now this is your engine ECU here, so everything is accessible, so we'll be able to do most of the testing directly at the engine ECU. Funnily enough, the customer is a subscriber to the channel, so let's hope we're able to fix this one, or at least get a true diagnosis of it. Now, like I've already said, the plan is to get connected first of all to my personal hotspot, and we'll go on HGS. Fingers crossed, you know, fingers crossed, we've got a wiring diagram for this. So let's refresh the Wi-Fi. Come on, pick me up. So we're going to personal hotspot. Hopefully the laptop picks it up. There we go. So it's just connecting the now, and what I did do is I saved the VIN number. I took a screenshot of that on the top down, so that's right there. So I'll just be able to type that in. We haven't got a diagram for this. We might need to look online, see if maybe All Data's got one. Doubt it. Yeah, we'll maybe need to look online, or have I got this wrong? Maybe it isn't that year. Let me have a wee think here. See if I've maybe typed in something wrong. So completely ignore what I was saying there about, you know, that year, a model. It's a Land Rover Discovery 2.5 L318 on this, and it falls in between, I think it was like 1998 to 2004. So good thing is we have got wiring diagrams and plenty of them. So I've got the engine. It's a Lucas EDC unit injector. The wiring diagram is very basic. It's almost like the diagrams you would find in like a Haynes manual or something. So, but it is a wiring diagram. It's there to help us, and I'm glad that we've got it. So I'll turn these around. Right, so as far as diagrams go, this one's pretty basic, so this should be easy enough. This is your main relay, so you can see here we've got pin 30, we've got pin 85, now that's fed through an inertia switch, and right here we've got a fuse, so we should technically have two powers here. So pin 85 we should have a power, pin 30 we should have a power, and once the engine ECU switches that over or gives that a ground, that will then switch that relay. Pin 87 will then supply all these little branches with power, and it should allow the engine to fire up, or the actuators on the engine at least. Now you can see it also, once that switches over, it comes up here and gives a supply to pin 85. Then the engine should switch that over as well. This is your fuel pump relay. K18 is your fuel pump relay. So that then switches that over, and again, you know, it should allow it to start up. Now I'm going to try and zoom across here without losing the page. So I'm just going to move these across here. Now we have got a fuse here which is fed through an ignition feed. That comes from the inside cabin fuse box. Now 2 seconds just to turn my phone off. Somebody was calling me there. So this fuse right here, it doesn't tell us what fuse it is, but I've managed to figure that out. That's what I've done off camera, because it's quite vague. It doesn't really tell you, you know, what fuse, where it is, etc. That runs down to B33, so that is your ignition supply for the engine ECU itself. Now back to the main relay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to test to make sure I've got my 2 power supplies at pin 30 and pin 85. Don't get mixed up obviously, pin 85, pin 86, usually you'd find a relay, pin 85 is your ground, but in this case it's getting used the opposite way. It doesn't matter what way it does get used, to be for your information. What I'm going to do is just make sure we've got 2 power supplies there, and I'm going to switch pin 30 over to pin 87 manually, and we'll see if the engine comes back to life, if it will start up. I suspect, looking at the diagram right now, if that switches over, I suspect we've got a problem here on that ignition circuit, ignition feed going to the engine ECU. I don't think it's going to be the switching side, however it might be, you never know. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to test pin 85 and pin 30 for power. If we're good, I'm going to switch pin 30 over to pin 87 with my test leads, and we'll see if the thing fires up. I'll just show you here the relay that we're interested in. I think it's 4 down. So yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This one right here is your main relay. You can see simple 4-pin relay. Now what I'm going to do is just get my test leads connected up to a good battery negative, and we should have 2 battery feeds here. So sorry, if we go into the first one, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, the test light lights up. Go onto the side that the inertia switch is coming through, test light lights up as well. Now this pin right here is your output, so that's your pin 87. That should supply the engine ECU with power, so I'm just going to switch that over using my test leads. But first of all, I'm just going to go and turn the ignition on, and I'm just going to take my test lead here, connect up mother end to battery positive, and I don't know if you could hear that, but the fuel pump relay clicked. And if I go in here, I'll just recycle the ignition. You can see our ignition light's back on. I'll just make sure it's out of gear. So this, technically this should start up now. Where's the key? There we go. So you can see it does start up and run. So at least we can say that the engine computer now is good. We need to figure out what's missing here. Is it that ignition feed going into the PCM, or is it internally failed on the switching side? Or we could still have a broken wire from here going to the actual switching side of the relay. There's a few different possibilities, but what I'm going to need to do now is lift this the engine ECU up, so we can test directly at the ECU itself. Oh, look at that, the sun's come out. Hopefully the exposure isn't too bright. So here's where I'm at now with this. So if I turn you guys around, I've managed to, HGS actually has the pinouts. That's where we're at now. So if we go to pin B, plug A, what the hell am I thinking here? If we go into the main plug for B, this bloody B here, my brain's not working, my brain is not working. You can see here that our ignition feed, if I look properly, ignition feed B33, ignition on 11 to 14 volts. Now if I go back into a wiring diagram and we'll zoom across the other end, B33 is our ignition side there, so it runs up into this fuse. Now I've already checked the fuse is absolutely fine, so it runs up into that fuse there, and I'll just zoom in again. I really should have done this in the van. Right, so that fuse there, so basically the fuse is alright. What I'm going to do is just make sure that ignition supply is getting to the engine ECU, just basically so it can wake up on the ignition side. So what I'm going to do is go into B33 just now. So we're going to fuses and relays, or not, we're going to component test values here in Muppet. F33, so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, let me see here, I had it marked down. So that white wire right there, 4 in. So we're 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now what I'm going to do is put that onto battery negative, so when we turn this ignition on it should light up that test light. Now obviously you want to put it through a proper load, but I'm just doing this for the video purposes. So you can see there, test light lights up, so that side of the circuit is okay. Now just to keep things simple here and not to go down a kind of rabbit hole because I'm running out of time here, is I'm going to go onto the switching side. So if we go onto the switching side of the main relay, zoom in. So the switching side, pin 86, you can see there. So if we go into pin B21 at the main plug of the engine ECU, and we put our test light onto battery positive, now that should be grounding that relay out. There shouldn't be anything stopping that. So if we go into that pin, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's this one here, if we go down and into there, so if we put our test light in there, if that test light lights up, then we know that B21 is grounding from the engine ECU side, but it's not getting to the actual relay. So I mean, it is just a short harness, so I'd be surprised if it's broke from there to there, but it's an older car, so you never know. What I'm going to do is just turn the ignition on. So ignition is on, and you can see it lights up, so that more or less tells me that we have got an open circuit from B21 to pin 86 of our main relay. So it definitely is an open circuit, and at least now that we know, the open circuit's going to be on a blue and red tracer. It kind of looks orange, it might be orange, I'm not too sure, but we have got an open circuit on the relay grounding side for the main relay. It's obviously been able to ground it from the engine control side, so there is a ground coming out. It's just, it's not making it, you know, all the way to this fuse box to ground out the relay. I hope that made sense. Anyway, if it doesn't, put it down in the comments if you don't understand what I'm talking about, and I'll maybe be able to help you out there. Sometimes explaining it on camera, you kind of talk a wee bit gibberish, but the next step is to find out where this open circuit is, and hopefully it won't take us too long. The bottom of this up, just do a quick visual. You can, oh, look at that corrosion. So we've got plenty of corrosion there. Oh dear. So I don't know if you'll be able to see, but you might be able to see that blue and red. That is very, very corroded, guys. This is... oh, is it going to be able to be cleaned up? I do not know. That is quite badly corroded in there. So I've had a little word with the customer, and you can see how much everything's rotten in there. I don't know what that brown wire's for, but that's snapped as well. Our main one obviously being the switching side. What we're going to do, or what the customer's going to do, is get a hold of one of these, hopefully, with all the plugs. But right now, we're just going to run a loop outside of the actual fuse box and into the terminal, so the thing can at least start, or hopefully it will start, because I don't know if I've disturbed that brown wire, but we'll soon find out. Right, so in this case the customer's going to need to get a fuse box. Where he's going to get one of them for this, I do not know. So just to get him by the now, I've just looped a wire from underneath and ran it directly into the relay. I know that isn't a professional repair as such, but it's to get the guy back on the road, and at least the car's not going to be sitting doing nothing. So let's see if it starts now. So it starts up perfect. We've got ABS warning lights, but apparently they've been on, or I think they've been on. And that's that, guys. So feel free to give me a hard time with that temporary repair on that relay, or on that actual fuse box, but I don't care. As long as the car's running, the customer's happy, that's all that matters. And like I said, I don't know if this is going to be one of those temporary slash permanent sort of repairs, because I don't know if you can get parts for this car, so just need to wait and see what happens. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please hit that like, share and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you later, guys.